Setterfield got it back to the captain Merritt. That's a beautiful kick. McDonald, Tipperwoody on the end of it. How good's this? 588 days since we last saw him on the big stage. Anthony McDonald, Tipperwoody, playing footy. He nails it.
How bloody good. WALLA.
WALLA.
Essendon. How good. I mean, I'm not used to such positivity to start a football season. Hello, Nathan. Get the pleasure.
Hello, Sam.
Delay. How are you? You can't.
We are winners.
Flag's
ours.
Flag
mantle. No, flag
dons. Flag dons.
Flag dons.
We talked about this.
Sorry.
Obviously, we're kidding.
Oh yeah, but
I digress.
Isn't it awesome to start the season with a win? And we're not, we don't like Hawthorn. Sam Mitchell's got a bit of a history, with the whole jab thing that he did to us. So to think of a team that we can, and then to go back 12 months after the Geelong game and how, well, the world's, after that. It's just nice. Tipper had his moment.
Tipper, which we just heard.
Junior just had his moment.
So
it's just all nice.
Pleasantries? No, whatever. 1910, 124. The Dons defeating Hawthorn 9-11, 65. Pathetic football club. Running down
they
there
are
in
a
Hawthorn.
world. And it's important we put this in context, isn't it? Because
I was gonna say a few things on that. As far as footy goes, that was pretty much a perfect day for us. But yes, it was only Hawthorn. With all due respect, which is not much, to be fair, they're shit.
They are ordinary.
And they are going to struggle to win a game. But we're going to enjoy ourselves tonight.
But I think the commentators said a few times, as they often do, commentators repeat something. Hawthorn are the youngest team, and I don't know if that's like for that round or at the whole list. They didn't go into detail. And we were the third, I think, or second, with Adelaide somewhere in there in one of those two spots as well. So to put that in context, they're younger than us, but not by any imaginable. The word.
Yeah, we'll go with it. Yeah, it was. I was, I think, like most, cautiously optimistic. It's Hawthorn. It's as far as teams you'd want to play in round one. Them, North, West Coast were probably the three, and then us, if for other clubs. But yeah, we'll get into it. But I just, as far as days at the footy goes, I don't think it could have been much better. For what we expect, for what the club expects, and we'll get into what Brad Scott said post match. I don't think it gets much better.
No, look, it was a good day, and it was. I think Brad Scott said a thing about how we, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, not over celebrate this win.
What I liked was he pretty much opened the press conference with, we'll keep this win in perspective, we're probably going to have to keep some losses in perspective later.
And I thought that was a great point, because
balance.
There will be moments through the year, I'm sure we will get flogged and we'll go, geez, it's all wrong. Let's get rid of everyone. But there's a moment right now where we can see a light, little flicker of something. And as I said, as opposed to last year when we came off, we've done all this time the preseason practicing something, and you get to the round one against Geelong and go, well, what the fuck did we practice? Like, it looks like we practiced how to not football.
How to not football, yes. Context is important, and keeping ourselves in check is important. But wins like this probably won't come around too often this year. So we're going to sit here and enjoy ourselves. So,
and for all those people who work in an office, do a bit of tipping and all that sort of stuff, have a bit of rivalry in your office, you can go in for the rest of the week, till Thursday night, and we will remain on top of the ladder.
Yes. We are top of the... I can't believe I didn't lead with that. We are top of the ladder for the first time at the end of a round since 2013, I believe. And possibly, I think Sir Swamp Thing, who everyone knows off the Twitters, we are the second team ever to go from 18th one year after round one to first the next. The other team was the Giants in like 1920 or 1819.
The Giants?
Giants, yes. They were last after round one year.
In what year?
First after round one the following year. I think it was like 1819, which was around the time.
See, I thought you were saying
18. No,
19.
2018.
I'm going, I don't think we were playing football in
2018,
18,
2019, you fool. Everyone else got that, just not you.
I'll piss off.
Okay, well, if you didn't get it, I apologize. Right, we'll get into some discussion and some numbers and what impressed us, what didn't, which to be fair is next to nothing. I'll make some points if that's okay to start with. I was sitting level 4 on the southern stand wing. The amount of times we got out of halfback, handball, kick, right down that wing, which was the far side for the broadcast, was incredible. I've not seen us use the football like that ever. For me,
it's like they practiced something and then went, well, let's do that in the game.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. And then they all sort of went, hey, that worked a couple of times. Let's keep doing it.
Keep doing it. It's and again, better teams will test that and test the ability and test, the pressure and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely. But it became so obvious that it was so deliberate. They'd play on from the point kick in, draw a man, handball, kick. And they'd always pretty much find that target. And then all of a sudden, rather than kicking 50 metres to a contest from your half or from your defensive goal square, you're kicking 50 metres to a contest, which ends up at half forward.
Exactly. And that was very different to last year, where I think you and I spoke about this a few times, how we just looked to, from a kick in from fullback, we just went to the right on the corner pocket. Like we'd kick it there, or we'd get hemmed in another 25 metres up right on the wing inside the 50 still and be like, well, we're stuck.
Well, they did do that kick a couple of times, but they had that overlap. Every time they were able to overlap and handball out.
Exactly.
And then still hit the kick on the wing.
And now the question, and I'm going to ask this a few times, do you think that's player learned, or is that a coach said, you're doing it wrong?
It has to be.
Is that poor coaching from us last year? Because we watched that and thought, wow, how do you not work on that at training? How to kick the ball out? It's a set play. Kicking the ball out from behind is something you can practice.
It has to be a coaching thing. Absolutely. Also getting the ball in the right hands of the right players and knowing who your kicks are off your halfback line. That's a big thing.
Well, that's something we could discuss too.
Got to be strategic. It's got to be, right, this is how we're going to do it coming off halfback. And I hope there's another plan, because when we play Collingwood, Geelong, all the good teams, Sydney, Port, apparently, we're going to not have that easy possession, I'm sure. So that's what the improvement needs to be across the season. But Jesus Christ, I've never so consciously sat there and gone, hey, that's what we're doing. And it's working. Shit.
I agree. And I think that part of that was because, like, it was always Redmond and Ridley. Now, the point I'll go to here is that I think that what's happened with Brad Scott is that he's identified part of the game that we need to improve on, and I don't think this is rocket science, that is our kicking and who kicks the ball out of half back. And this is probably why we're not going to see a lot of Hind in our team, because Redmond and Ridley are good kickers of the ball. They're good decision makers. They're not afraid to go for something into the centre. A bit like McGrath will have a go at those sort of ones too. And I think that introduction of Langford down to that half-back line, although he was probably a bit iffy at the start, took a while, probably a quarter or a half. Sam might, if I showed you a text, might say he didn't start very well. Then I think by the end of it, I think he became important because he was setting up defensively at throw-ins and center, that sort of bounces and stuff like that. So he was a defensive, sort of going to a defensive winger role.
Yeah,
he was
really interesting because, and we'll come back to the back line a little bit more, but he pre-match did the warm-ups and the drills with the defensive group. So that was something I went, okay, so he's playing defense. But he really did push up when we were in attack. He was sitting on the edge of the 50. So he was still thereabouts, but then he would really be deep defensive 50.
Yep.
So it was almost like, winger with out-and-out defensive focus.
Yep.
But he was still able to move up and down the ground, which is good because that's what he can do.
Well, he's got a good tank. He's a good mark. He's a good kick.
Yep.
Like, probably his weaknesses around the ball have been that and we saw this in. If we make the comparison to Setterfield, because I guess Langford was meant to be like the Setterfield type player, tall, big midfielder. He just doesn't. He's not quick enough or quick enough by mind. He looks a little slow around that sort of part of it.
He's one of those players that look a bit, and I mean look only by how they move, lazy and slow, but he's not. It's just the way he moves, which is fine. Job was a little bit like that. But when I text you full transparency saying Lang is a shit footballer, that was pretty much verbatim.
I didn't want to W in. I could have just.
That was first quarter. He turned the ball over a few times, and I had enough. And I know you would be sympathetic of that because you have voiced concerns around him in the past.
I've been frustrated with him for a while because I don't know where he's meant to be playing.
But he really solidified. He was really, really good. He took off a kick, I think, must have been, which way did we kick first quarter?
I reckon it was the third quarter.
Right, so it was third quarter. He went to go member side.
Yep.
He turned back and come on the fat side and just absolutely nailed a 55-metre kick.
Yep.
And we got a point out of it. But far out. One, vision. Two, execution. Love it.
And that's what I'm saying, that I think that's something that Chris Scott is pushing, obviously, us. There's a couple of things.
It took us 15 minutes to say the wrong.
Oh, we called Chris. Oh, sorry, my bad. Bad Scott.
Scott. Brilliant
Scott. Yep,
obviously.
Right. But I think that's something he's pushing is to get a gain. There's a couple of other things, and I think that's attack on the footy and tackling and all those other things. But one of them is you've got to be skillful by foot, and I reckon we'll see some of those guys that are not dropped out of the team.
It seems like we're going to go do defensive midfield and forward sort of wrap. So I was surprised that D'Ambrosio and Hind both weren't in. But that worked fine.
Well, especially because Hawthorn have a few. Well, they were a small forward. Like, I think we'll struggle. Like, we've got Gold Coast this week. They've got a couple of tools that I think will push us. I think we'll struggle against teams, obviously, that have got a lot of tools because Zerk Thatcher's our tallest defender at 199. Yeah, he's not quite 200. So, and then all the others are 195 and 193. So.
We had a look at it today. Out of the forwards that Gold Coast have to choose from, and I know Casbolt may be injured. Casbolt was 2 meters. Charles 2 point something. Oh no, sorry, Charles like 1.98.
199 or something like that.
And then King is 203.
Yeah,
we're going to struggle with that kind of forward line.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that that'll be a problem, but that'll have its own. That'll be different to what we've dealt with.
It'll be different tactics. And we're going to have to approach that differently to how we approached Hawthorn, who had, I can't even think of one mega tall forward that they were.
Oh, yeah, because the guy that got dragged, because he's big, tall, and they were missing their other tall, and they sent a ruckman down there a bit, that either Lloyd Meek or Ned Rees, I think it is, they were down there a bit.
Wasn't overly stressful. Wasn't like we had Hawkins or Lynch or...
Well, they're not... Neither of them are very mobile, athletic forwards that, it's not like Gorn floating forward or,
Can't wait for that.
Who knows what he's doing down there?
Yeah. Remiss not to mention Zerk Thatcher. Started a bit shaky. His disposal was a bit funky in the first quarter. But we as a team, we fell off towards the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, something happened in that sort of 10 minutes, didn't it?
Only criticism I'd have is we really fell off for like 10 minutes.
It's like we tried to play Hawthorn style and it didn't work for us. So we worked out just go back to ours.
Quarter time, Brad was like, boys, and it clicked. He was very good, picking up from where he left off. Riddle's first goal in footy, how good. Redmond kicked 2. Know how he's managed that.
Still don't understand that thing where Shield went to Shepherd and then he let him and then, get it back again, try again, go and have another go.
There was some interesting umpiring calls. Gunston
playing on, honestly, like if he's making the choice.
Bruce should have had a free kick for a trip.
That was a pretty bad trip.
That one where Redmond got 2 goes at it was bizarre.
I don't think the umpiring was bad in either way.
No.
Decisions are always, there's going to be a few like that, but it wasn't anything where you went, oh my God.
There was another one we talked about today where we couldn't work out why or how. It was the most interesting one. That's unfortunate.
Yep. I also wanted to make a quick mention, and I know this might be off schedule, but to Zachy Merritt.
Well, okay, good segue into the midfielders. Go, yes.
For his first game as captain, big pressure. And I did see, I watched the interview afterward, and he said it's the most nervous he's been, in about 8 or 9 years of footy, you know.
Yep.
So he obviously was feeling it. He got a tag from McGuinness. That's it. And I thought he dealt with that brilliantly. Like he just went about his business, went over, made it a 2-on-1, so that effect. And just on that, Hawthorn, why are you tagging? Seriously, like that's not working. When you're a bottom team, that's not the strategy. Like that's just let the boys come out and play.
Just let your
seriously.
kids come out and play. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't want to be that team. I understand why really good teams do it because they've got so many midfielders they can throw someone and
if you want to develop a player, you go right. Two things. One, go win your own footy first, and then 3 or 4 years down the track, then we might work out how you can then be a bit more defensive minded, and then still have the ability to win your own football.
But you should be with the young kids they had playing in there. They should be saying, oh, well, here's an opportunity for you to just run around with this guy and learn from him. Stick with him all the way, but you're on him,
tag, yeah.
He's your guy. Not a hard tag. It's just that learn from it, play, try and beat him and all that sort of stuff. That's what that's how you learn as a young kid, not just, I'm not getting the footy, I'm just going to hang off this guy all game.
Yeah. It was, Cameron Ling made a good point around how Merritt handled it, about Merritt going to a player himself. I think he went a bit more to Warple.
Yep.
And that threw a bit of a spanner in the works for McGuinness. Whether that was Zach's decision or a coaching decision, either way, it really helped him to break free. He had a bit of a shit first quarter, but second quarter, he came out in the first 30 seconds, laid a tackle, got back up, got the footy, got a touch, cleared the ball. Just work rate. And that's true of the whole midfield group.
And it also probably freed up Parrish to have his 37 touches because a lot of the times he didn't have anyone near him simply because they were too worried about Merritt. And it just seemed... And
that's the value,
silly, I personally think.
Value of having a deep midfield. They can tag Merritt, still had 29 touches.
Well, the tag went off in the sort of somewhere around the third quarter.
They realised it wasn't working. That's why we were still able to get a 10-goal lead with him being tagged, essentially. Setterfield looked lovely, 25 touches, 6
tackles,
fantasy points, tackles, kicked a goal, hilarious goal. It's the kind of goal we normally concede, to be completely honest. I sit next to a bloke, I turned to him and we had a good chuckle at that. Made them.
Well, the two leading tacklers for us were him and Wiedemann, the two new guys. So that's great. I love that. Love what that brings.
Yeah, we'll get to the forward group. Speaking of the whole deliberate, tactics and what you can see, the amount of times we got clearances where it went Merritt, Parrish, McGrath. McGrath really streaming off half back to get that kick. Sheila a little bit as well, but not so much off half back. Again, against better teams, that will be more difficult to do. But geez, it looked bloody good. It's our highest score since we played North Melbourne 2 or 3 years ago, where we kicked 140 on them. First time since 2013 that we've kicked 9 goals in a row.
Wow.
Last year we went on runs against us, massive runs against us. And it's the first time also since 2013 that we finished around on top of the ladder. Yes, it's round 1. Who cares? We're still top.
Yep.
It's a stat. It's a number.
And no injuries.
Which
training.
Is fantastic. Should mention Pete.
Peter
Absolutely.
Wright did it wrong.
Broke my heart. That.
I got the message on my phone to show, Peter Wright signed a 4-year contract. Oh, yeah, really? That's right. And then not much longer, I hadn't really read it, I was still sitting there, and it popped up, Peter Wright's out for the season. Well, no, fuck the hell that happened?
Well, not the full season.
Did he do the shoulder signing the paperwork?
He just really slammed the fucking pen down.
Really
enthusiastic. So that was a bit of a shame. But, and this is a good segue into the forward line and rucks a little bit, it was good. It was a logical solution in that Phillips played, which kept Wiedemann forward. And both Sammy kicking 2 goals was very handy. Flipper, I don't think Phillips has ever played a bad game, just like I don't think he's ever played a great game. He's just serviceable.
Plods along, yeah. We did lose the hit-outs to 2 guys that are not very good ruckmen.
We did, but we won clearances. So,
but there's going to be who we play this week. What's his name? The big ruckman.
Yeah.
Witts.
Thank you.
Him and Chol are going to be very challenging for those 2 boys.
Yeah, but, Draper gives you other things.
Of course. I know
not
that,
just hit outs. And I'll tell you
but
what,
you've still got to help hit outs help with that clearance.
Absolutely. I watched Melbourne and the Dogs Saturday night, and the amount of times Bodie Grundy got the most beautiful tap straight to a Dogs player was
But the Dogs
unreal.
players been getting used to Shark and other.
What's a hit out? Like, Ruckman are overrated, all right? Sorry,
Oh, don't you dare. You know how I feel about that.
I do, but I just don't
the first one to get to the ball, if they use it properly, it's very easy for everyone else.
Whatever. I loved Big Weed Dog's game. I love that the crowd eventually realised we weren't booing him and got on board with the weed.
Yep. I don't know if I love that we do that because I don't like it when other clubs do that, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like
I hate
Saad
sitting
gets
there.
the ball, they'll go,
I hate sitting there and other fans are enjoying themselves about their player. So if we're sitting there enjoying ourselves because Sam Wiedemann's got the ball, great. You don't go to enough games to appreciate sitting there and hearing the opposition supporters going off their face, sick with love. A bit like we did. Good segue, Sam. For WALLA.
Oh, yeah, that was a beautiful moment when he came out. I teared up.
Again, being in crowds where other teams get these moments all the time and we're sitting there pissed off and crying for other reasons. The whole crowd, just as one, saw him on the bench, saw him run on, and just beautiful. Has there ever been a man that got a standing ovation for being subbed on?
Oh, probably, but not that good. Not that good. No.
And then to get a goal very quickly was great because I think even though we were up, if he'd not kicked a goal, we would have walked away going, bugger it.
Oh, well, I think that him and that Davey, his goal at half time.
Junior should have had.
He should have kicked that one running in, though. He missed everything in that one. And I'm like, but the Ford brigade worked because of, I guess, again, Hawthorn don't have a great defence. And
Sick Dog goes all right.
What was great, though, again, was Menzies and the pressure of Menzies and Junior that they're going to put on teams. And I do think it'll be interesting. Like, Jones played really well in the first half, but I think he faded a bit in that third, and then they took him off, which is fine. He's still coming on. Wiedemann, I don't know how often we'll be able to play Wiedemann and the big ruckman in what's his name? Phillips in every game.
Well, I think
Phillips can be a bit of a he's a bit of a liability
slow
when he's not.
A bit clunky. But that was perfect for the situation. If Peter Wright played, Flipper didn't.
Yeah, of course.
So, and then Wiedemann would have been the predominant second ruck.
And Wiedemann's got an opportunity now.
Bit of an oxymoron.
A great opportunity to show what he can do. And he's got the number one tall position because Jones will be the second guy. And if he can pinch hit in the ruck a little, not a lot.
Well, it's just even rucking in the forward line is very useful.
He's going to be able to say at the halfway mark, either I've showed Melbourne they made a mistake or...
Yeah.
Just like I think Carlton personally have made a mistake after one game of watching the sets. I'm like, Jesus.
The sets.
I love him. I was just really impressed that just everything was just done right. Like it was.
It's interesting. And I've talked about this before, the view you get on a game being there and then the view you get on the telly. I didn't notice him, but I don't know what he looks like. Like you get used to seeing
He's number 12.
You get used to seeing players and their shape and their hair, and you just know who they are.
Well, I was looking for him because he's in my fantasy team.
I struggled a bit to see him, so that's probably more that than anything else. But he did have the good. I think it was second half mostly. Where he kicked the goal third quarter, but tackles, big body. Moves quick. I thought he could have chased a bit harder when Jath kicked that ripper goal. If I could be critical, but yeah, whatever. It's one moment. Other than that, Archie Perkins could have had a day out. 3 goals, 3.
If he could just
20 touches, and they were fairly standard.
And what did Wiedemann just kick 3 as well, didn't he?
2 goals, 1.
Oh, that's right. You got that all in succession. There was a run there where he had 5 minutes of being super hot, where he kicked 2 and then missed 1. And then Perkins was super hot, where he kicked 2 and missed 1. Within They weren't too far away though. Like one was like at the end of the third quarter, one was at the start, end of the second quarter, one was the start of the third quarter.
Yeah. And then that's another benefit of Weed, if I can just go back on that. He took 2 contested marks to get the 2 goals and then got a ruck free kick for a tackle that he laid and had the shot from. So good. Like that's great. Awesome. And first quarter, I was really impressed with his lead up and marking to give us that kick down the line.
Crunched a couple of players at one stage.
Good shout.
Yep. So we're the best team now, aren't we?
100%. Until Thursday.
On that, do you
13 goal kickers too, which was
that was great. Like everything, it's hard to say bad words. On that, who do you see, or do you see none changes?
The only change that would spring to mind would be if Wright's fit, which obviously he's not, so that's not out of the question. No injuries. Reed's injured, isn't he? So
he's training, but I don't think he's full training. Yeah.
What
about Stringer?
I don't know who for.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Get back into that. You know, we've kicked 19 goals for the first time in 2 seasons.
Who goes out?
I don't know who you drop. They all offered something. The only player I thought looked a little bit underdone, more than bad, was Caldwell.
What about Heppel's game?
Serviceable. He didn't do a lot. Provides good on-field leadership and that. Sorry, on that, there was a lot of that, not just from him, from the whole team. A lot of that pointing. You go here. I've got this. Particularly manning the mark.
Yep.
It was you go him. I'm going to go on the mark, and it were they just
communicating.
Oh, yay! Unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any change. Stringer.
It'd be unusual for it'd be a worrying. Like the thing about not picking Stringer, and this is the only thing, is that, and I don't think this is a big deal, is that the media will write articles about, Stringer's not getting a game, Stringer's playing VFL, and Brad Scott will have to deal with that questioning. Now, it's how he deals with it. Saying, look, he's just got to play. We were just wanting to play a VFL game, just get some fitness. He hasn't played much footy for the preseason, so it's just getting a game through him. And then does WALLA play? Like, does WALLA play another sub role?
Judging by what Scott said in the post-match, WALLA will be sub or VFL to get Wheels back, and he understands that.
Yep. So does Stringer come in as a sub?
Maybe someone goes out and they're the sub, like I don't know who.
Oh well, yeah.
But the other thing is he's 192. So can we play him? Yeah, can we play him instead of Phillips, and then have Wiedemann as the second ruck and go back to what we would have had with Wright, but not Wright?
Or do you really become pricks and send Langford into the ruck every so often? Well, see, this is the thing. Remember when we sent Cox to the ruck?
Yeah, I do remember that.
And don't forget, other teams, like this is not a stupid idea. Other teams are throwing pretty mid. Well, okay, North Melbourne had Cherry, go down.
Hugh Greenwood was in the ruck at one point.
Yeah, Hugh Greenwood did a lot of rucking. I think it wasn't at one point. He did a lot of it. And I wouldn't have thought he's that much taller than Langford.
No, but that's what they get for playing one ruck.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just talking about how some teams do it just to get by so that Draper can get off, have a rest. Langers hopefully won't have to deal with too many. But you're right. Say Wiedemann does the centre bounce, then Lang run around the ground doing it.
Maybe. And then that lets Stringer come in for Phillips, essentially.
Yep. Possibly.
That works for me. I'll be okay with that scenario.
Right. Yep.
And it's not dropping Phillips. It's just that he would understand because he's 32, whatever he is. You're the backup ruck, and you're only ever going to play really if Draper doesn't, or if we want to go down that.
Yeah, because they're not going to throw Jones into the ruck.
No.
Anyway,
the other one I thought was a bit rusty, ironically, was Rusty Martin.
Oh, but his kicking to the forward 50 was quite good. Like, I had no problem with
a couple of targets. He just dropped a few marks, and first time I've really looked at him and gone, it was a bit shit.
Ooh.
But it's one game.
Have we made him worse? Has he been worse?
No,
he's got to the club.
We're not doing
Have we made him worse?
We're not doing this. Leave it until we have a meltdown in round 10. Speaking of meltdowns in round 10, I did the ladder predictor today.
We won.
Don't is my advice.
We won the thing, people.
We're 4 and zip, but it goes downhill from there. So just enjoy the first month.
4 and zip. I'll be happy if we're just 2 and zip, mate. Let's just get to 2. Then my other question is that throughout
hype train.
so do you see places for guys like Hobbs? Would Brian is another option? Would he replace Phillips as just a?
Well, I think if he was going to, he'd already be in.
Yeah, fair enough.
He
I
would
don't
have
know how fit he was.
Sunday.
I imagine he's had a full preseason. Not preseason. I don't think he's missed anything.
The other one you mentioned, your boy, Guelphy.
Yeah, Guelphy.
Scott actually mentioned in the presser.
He did.
Again, I don't know how he comes in.
Well, he has to take out a Menzies or a junior, doesn't he? And those guys will get rests.
Absolutely.
Especially junior.
Menzies was fine.
Menzies was unreal. He was up the ground a lot. He was putting pressure around. He was chasing. He plays 23 games. I don't have a problem with him. I could see Junior getting rested at
he'd manage, absolutely.
Yeah, manage, because he's just a young kid and you don't want to burn him.
Same with Jones, to be fair.
Jones is into his 4th year now, or whatever.
He's still a skinny, wiry prick.
But his body should be a little bit better, whereas Davies...
It'd be interesting. Put it that way.
And then the other one I wonder through the mid-year point or after that is Sardis, who, if you look at Sheasel, I watched that game, watched him play, and they all talk was Sardis is as good as a couple of these guys. If he's got the talent that Sheasel's got, then I'll find a spot for him.
Sheasel frustrated me, just quietly.
Yeah,
I didn't think his ball use was very, very reliable at all.
Sure, I thought it was pretty good.
He got plenty of ball, and I was just the bits I was paying attention to. He just turned the ball over straight away, like straight up. He had 5 clangers. That must have been the 5 kicks I saw of his. He'll get the Rising Star nomination. 36 touches, whatever it was, is unreal. I don't think we'll rush him in.
No, I don't think we'll rush him in, but I wouldn't be surprised at somewhere from by round onwards.
They'll rotate.
He'll play good VFL and there'll be pressure.
Yeah. Hobbs is in the same boat. I don't think he's depth or really forcing himself through VFL for now.
Well, I think the problem with Hobbs is a greater problem because he's trying to take an inside midfielder's position and he doesn't kick very well, which is like we're talking about Parrish, who is nearly the best on ground. So he's not getting that spot. He's not getting Shield spot.
Barring injuries.
Yeah. Barring injury, this is, of course. But so whereas Sardis is more of an outside winger, sort of, quality user of the football. But
towards the end of the year, he might get a spot over Heppel,
And Sammy Durham and the Martins are the guys that he's going to be chasing spots from.
Can I actually, that's a good point. Stuz, Sammy Durham, coach's pet, allegedly. Can see why. We harped on last year about, effort is the minimum expectation, but he just goes and goes and goes and goes.
There's a tackle. There was a great rundown tackle.
So it just stands out compared to some of the others, which not to say they're not trying or putting an effort, but he's just always harassing. And
I thought it was one of his better games.
Couple of biffy moments. We had a passage, I think, third quarter where we just missed kicks. We missed sort of 3 or 4, 5 kicks in a row, and we kind of lost our shape a little bit, but got it straight back, which was growth, if nothing else. So,
no, that's all good. I just think, I'm always trying to think, because I think what will happen over the next 3 or 4 weeks is we'll see bad performances from players or from the team. And I'm trying to predict, I wonder where the changes will come. I don't think back 6 won't look as good again. I'm sure of it. Like they'll have games where 15 goals will be kicked against.
Well, no, and that's exactly right. We're still expecting to finish around that 10th to 12th, give or take a few.
I agree with that, but I still think there has to be improvement. Like we can't.
Yeah, well, that is improvement.
It's either the players have got to get better, or we've got to get better players in.
But we saw improvement, and I did my usual stat keeping, watching the replay when we win. They kicked 2 goals that resulted from their defensive 50. One of them was Jath's, which was a brilliant solo effort. And they kicked one, I think, in the... No, apologies. They kicked one, and it was the Jath one. So that's massive improvement.
But a team defense was 100 times better because what stood out was the defenders didn't get sucked up to the forward 50. You always had someone... Like, even when they got a kick over the back, there was at least someone there that
Well, and I was
Zerk
watching
Thatcher
that.
or Ridley or someone was there to at least try, and look, they can still get past guys like that, but they were there. The structure was better.
And so there's two things on that. One, I was watching the setup, and we had like there were 3 groups of 1-on-1, and then we had 2 spares.
Yep.
A lot of the time, which was good. Every single time Hawthorn tried to switch it, which they did a lot.
Yeah, they did a lot.
We spread. We matched them.
Yep.
We kept up with them.
We blocked the corridor.
And worst case, we forced stoppages in their forward half.
Yep. No, we did all that. And I think that's one of the best things we've seen. That and pressure and tackle is all we've asked for.
Yes.
So now if we're getting that, and I would expect that to happen regularly. And it's not just something that turns off this week, for example. I'd be really disappointed.
That would be another big test, is that consistency. So one big tick as well from the Hawks game was we did it for 3.5 quarters.
I don't think that should be. I think you have to bring that. It's not about consistency, bringing pressure and bringing the ability to run. Like that's something that comes every week. Yeah, what can turn off is your actual, like, you might fumble, you might drop the ball more, you might,
Well, that's fine.
That's right. That's fine.
But
I can deal with that.
Year,
I have that. But you should still be able to chase. Like that's not something that turns off.
We were like the Melbourne weather. You'd have 4 seasons in one day.
Last year we couldn't even defend.
We had 3.5 quarters of good football against Hawthorn. Yep. Consistent. We were able to. We fell off a little bit, and that'll happen. We're allowed to. We're going to concede goals. We're going to have periods where we're not on top. That's fine.
Teams are going to get run-ons on us because that's what they do. They did it to Brisbane. Like Brisbane got flogged on the weekend.
Jesus, didn't they? So Gold Coast are a step up from Hawthorn.
Yep.
Maybe not a huge step up, but they're a step up.
It's definitely a step up. They're a much better midfield. Ritz, you're coming up against some decent midfielders, good forwards, and some solid defenders.
So yeah, bring the same heat and we'll be peachy.
Hawthorn
Sunday afternoon.
I just want to say one more time. Hawthorn. Rabble.
Yeah, going. Yeah. Sunday afternoon game again. We've kind of already talked about the changes. I don't think there'll be any. And if there is, it might be Stringer for Phillips would be my guess. But I'd love to see no change.
The sub again.
Maybe a D'Ambrosio this time. I think WALLA will be managed heavily.
Well, I would imagine he'll play VFL this week, though, because they want to now put it. If they get a training block into him this week, they want to put a VFL game through him.
Yeah, or half of it.
Because you want him back in the team. That's what the end goal is. You want him playing, say by around 6-7, playing full games of football.
You can see the relationship he has with Davey Jr. And I'm sure with Jaden Davey and
Menzies too. I think that he's got
the small forwards,
because they look for him for leadership.
The Indigenous side of it is obvious as well.
Yep. The First Nations kids, they're gonna.
It's great. And I think the kids need that. Any kid needs leadership
100%.
and
they need
coaching and all that. But, it's just nice.
Yep.
We've got such a proud history with Indigenous players. It's just good to have them around.
100%. And I think that when he's in the team, if it's him, Menzies and Davey, that is a scary little short forward line. Like
to be fair,
teams will be pooping themselves when they got the ball and running. Like they'll be going, where are they? Like, seriously, I'm under pressure.
Waller's a bloody good option for a sub, if nothing else. But I would expect him to be getting VFL minutes.
Yep.
Then maybe a sub.
If he can do that regularly for 5-6 weeks.
Is that going to be an out then?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It was confusing.
It has to be an out.
I got the hang of it last year. Now they freaking changed it.
I never understood it last year. I just let you explain it every time. Just kept my head down.
No. Tip for the Gold Coast game?
Us? Have we done our best and fairest?
No, we're not yet, but we one thing at a time. We're focusing on next week.
Well, I think us it's played here again, isn't it?
It's in Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel. Look, it's a neutral. It's a flat track. It's going to be good for skills. Like it'll be a fast game. They were pretty poor last week. They'll be looking to bounce back from that, but pick us by 25.
Okay. Us by 73, and we're going to stay top of the ladder. I'm going to ride this. You wanted to call the bloody podcast flag dons, so you can get stuffed. All right, well, we better do our votes.
Yep.
The You go first because I'm scared I might change mine depending on what you say.
Oh, you bastard. I don't mind. I've got mine right, so you can copy.
I've already written mine down. I'm not changing it. It's fine.
Well, I've gone with Parish at 3 because 37 possessions. Well, I wrote down some stats. 37 possessions, 10 inside 50s, and 575 metres gained. I know people talk a lot about Parish going sideways with his movement. That's equal most amount of metres gained in a game. And I think that was basically because they put tag on Merritt, and Merritt went and tagged someone else. So they just let Parish to run free, which is stupid. I gave 2 votes to Perkins.
Yeah.
3 goals, 3 was it, or 4?
3 goals, 3.
If he could just kick, I want one day 6. I want the 6. But he showed that hip shaking strength that is going to make him into a very damaging half forward, possibly midfielder. I still don't know about that, but definitely damaging half forward. And I gave 1 vote to the sets because I was just excited to see a midfielder tackle. 6 tackles.
It's sad, isn't it?
Decided to see 1.
Hey, I wish I didn't say what I said before now because I did do Parish and Perkins as 3 and 2.
Copycat.
But for the reasons you say, I mean, Parish 37 touches, the clearances were massive, the meters gained, you know, and Perko for that he has the ability to change a game, and he didn't have to have that show, but he got shots, he got them quickly, he got them crumbing.
He did everything, Mark.
On the boot.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is controversial and whatever. I gave 1 to Wiedemann. I really liked the way he presented up the ground to start with, and then the 2 goals, the tackle. Wasn't a complete game. It was he probably played 2.5 really good quarters.
Yep.
But I'm a sucker for a big forward, and I didn't have Pete, so
you've got to find someone else now.
I had to, jump on Big Sammy, which we now have 3 Sams. That's
God.
I don't know how to spell Wiedemann, but there you go.
Still, none of them are better than you.
I reckon they've all got claims.
None of them are doing a podcast.
None of them
are
probably
actually, who knows?
We've got 1 Sam without a mullet now, so the pressure's off me to grow a mullet.
And that's no offense to our defenders too. I've realised we've picked midfielders and forwards, but I still
Redmond would be a good claim.
Yeah, but I still, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. I still think the defenders probably had a pretty easy time, to be honest. Like
I think the whole team
did, but the defenders, I thought, geez, there's not really many threats up there, to be honest.
Yeah. Redmond and BZT stiff. I'll give you that. And Ridley for his first goal.
Both
stiff.
Great games. And Ridley.
Yeah, Riddles. Shall we do some comments?
Yeah.
On the Facebook Live, if you're listening elsewhere, we do it every Monday night, 7:30. Don, what are we called? Glory and Fame Don Pod on Facebook.
Did you say what's it called?
Yeah, I forgot. Well, we've had 3 or 4 iterations of what this page is called, so forgive me.
Fair enough.
Brett just said go Planes, which, great comment, good input. Go Planes. Bombers.
Go Planes.
I can see you faking expression.
Explain it to me. I don't know.
Our logo, Nathan.
Oh, I don't like the plane. Anyway.
Bomber. We're literally called Bombers. Elfie Zerk deserves a shout. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Phil, top of the ladder, baby, with the little whoo emoji.
Mm-hmm.
That's the strongman emoji, strong woman emoji. I have no voice. Definitely one of the best games I've been to. How good were the boys? Walla's return was good footy. Good for footy moment. I actually did see Triple M's video and their coverage of it on Twitter. And they were all, Triple M, it's a bit of a rowdy, just noises and boy, yeah. They were genuinely happy and it was really wholesome. Go give it a watch. It's on Twitter, which I'm sure if you're on Twitter, you'll find it. Phil's made a good point, which we should have covered. Only once in the last 28 years has the side who finished top of the ladder after round 1 not played finals. I think it might have been 2, and it will now be 3.
I'm pretty sure. I feel I love the stat, but I reckon it could be 3.
We're adding 1 for sure.
Yeah, look, a lot's got to go right. A lot, and it's already gone wrong with Peter.
Yeah,
see what I did there?
Yeah, you've done it 4 times now. It's wearing thin.
Give up.
Langford had a positive impact.
Yep.
Does Stringer come in? We covered that. Elfie Guelphy. Hey, yep. Phil suggested Menzies for Stringer, but I think that's a bit of a mismatch in terms of what you're taking.
You can't.
out,
Can't see how you can drop Menzies. Like he had,
and that's another factor as well.
Yeah, I don't know his numbers off the top of the head. I'll have a top of my head. I'll have a quick squeezy.
Alfie, and I haven't seen this Alfie, so just take your word. If you have a look in the background of the Perkins interview post game, you can see Weeds in the background with ice on his knee and ankle, limping big time. I would say that's just recovery.
Yep.
There'll be sore boys after round one in particular.
Yes, of course it would. No, the coach said there were no injuries. So
Brad said, yeah, no injuries.
I said the clean.
Coach. You said the coach. I know. I was emphasizing it for my own benefit.
So he kicked 2 goals, 1, 7 kicks, 5 handballs. He had 80% game on time on ground and 3 tackles, 6 marks.
He was very good. Did you tell me
hard to be dropped
pre-match? Did you tell me pre-pod that Setterfield was 75% game time?
Yeah, 71 or something like
71, Jesus. Yeah, it was a good game.
Well, because it was the thing about that was that I found interesting was Shield was 70. He was like one of the lowest. He was like 71 or something like that, whereas Setterfield had 77.
Yeah, okay. Time on ground. That's 3 quarters. That's
he's off a bit. Well,
yeah. Interesting. For a good game, only playing 77%.
74% CBAs.
You and your CBAs.
I'm a good CBA.
CBF. Phil gave 3 to Parrish, 2 to Merritt, 1 to BZT.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Gary chimed in 1 minute ago. He just got in. Archie was brilliant. Should have kicked 5. Yeah, probably.
And even what's his name? Davey Jr. He probably should have kicked 2 or 3. That 3. One run in should have been a goal.
And that would have sent us all into raptures.
The 50 he did kick was a great kick. And then he missed another one set shot, wasn't it? Oh, no, that was when
there's the one running in right before quarter time. Yeah.
Which he probably should have shanked. Oh, should have goaled as well.
Should have kicked it. Doesn't seem to have an overly penetrating kick, but.
Well, that can't be true because that goal he kicked from the set shot went 50 metres. Which is not a bad kick for a little, like he's 180 centimetre dude. Like, it's a little leg.
And small, like in terms of, he's not a lot of muscle on him.
He's a little leg.
He's a little dude. Sorry, I'm paranoid my child's going to start screaming at me.
Well, quickly, let's wrap this up.
Well, I think we're done. I think that was where we were heading anyway. Anything else to add? Any final comments?
It was joyous. I was happy. I drank lots of beer.
You do that.
I went to bed in a cheerful. I watched the replay pretty much after the game finished because I'm a loser.
So for reference, we live 4 hours away from Melbourne, both of us. Telling the people that you know that.
I know.
Yeah, no, you know. Didn't need to explain that.
No, you didn't explain it to me.
So jumped on the train, get in the car, come home. Got home about 10:30. It was pretty knackered. It's a long drive. It's a long day. It's 12 hours. I thought, geez, I can't wait for bed. I can't wait for bed. I sat there and watched the full replay. Such a nuffie. Such a nuffie. Anyway, I think my final wrap up for me will be that brilliant win. Days like that don't come around too often, but it is only Hawthorn. And with all the disrespect possible, they're shit.
Oh,
so
they are shit, and they're going to get their what's his name, Harley
Reid,
because they are gunning for that spoon, and they're going to be hard. It's going to be hard to take it off them.
It's going to be an interesting battle, honestly, between
because West Coast will be going for it as well.
North weren't brilliant. They're better, but they're not brilliant.
They're still the fact that they. Oh, we won't go into it. It's too much. But I could talk other teams all night because the fact that they had a pretty good lead and then just
blew it, stopped. Yep. What was I going to say? We keep harping on that's only Hawthorn. I fully appreciate that you can only play the team put in front of you.
Yep.
And the most pleasing thing is that we smashed them.
100%.
If we had played like shit and beat them by 2 points, it would still be fairly hollow.
Exactly.
We played good football, and that's all we can ask.
And we played good footy for 75% of the game, 80% of the game.
Anything we're saying about flag dons, top of the ladder, it's pure irony.
But we played good football against a crap team and just did what.
Yeah,
and I think too, the other thing,
good teams do that.
Will take some confidence out of that. They'll say, well, look, we know if we can get it in our terms and playing our way of football, we can actually be good. The challenge will be doing against the Melbournes and the Dogs and the Ports and the good teams, Collingwood. But they'll know that, well, that's the challenge now that lies ahead, is that we've now got to do it against good teams.
Would also like to congratulate Collingwood for winning the premiership already, apparently.
Have they?
If you're judging by the reaction, Jesus.
Who'd they beat? They beat Geelong, that's
Geelong.
right, yeah.
And one more mention, Jeremy Howe. I hope you get better. I hope you come back. Just awful. I've never... How often do you get an injury that they won't show a replay?
Have you ever seen the footage of Stringer's break? Like when he played under 18s? Nope. Have you seen that video? Google Stringer's.
No,
he shows the back of he kicks the back of his leg.
Oh, I think I might
can see his leg break.
One that stands out to me is Nathan Brown for Richmond.
Oh, that was a bad one too. Yeah, it was a really bad one.
Yeah, they showed the replay of that one.
Yep. Yeah. Now have a look at Stringer. He kicks the back of his own leg and breaks his leg.
Didn't someone do that last year?
Possibly. I know Stringer did it because he played for Bendigo. He came from that way.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, awful injury. So
we'll take the fact that
doesn't matter who you play for. It just sucks.
Yep.
On that note, on that bombshell, being nice to a Collingwood player, who's I'm sure is listening to an Essendon podcast.
Oh, he would be. He'd be like, "Oh, the Don Pod. It's Monday night. But whoo, Don Pod. Have you all juiced up on the gases? And I don't feel a thing. I'm
fresh from
my
surgery, listening to the Don Pod. Yeah.
Who wouldn't be? All right, let's wrap this.
Yeah, sorry. All right, we'll be back 7:30 Monday night, again, live on Facebook, otherwise YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Thank you for listening wherever you might be listening from, whatever platform. We appreciate it. And Nathan, goodbye.
Go Bombers!